by a long shot. It was much easier to print pages of words that could be sung to a familiar tune as opposed to printing an entire hymnal, so that you could have a collection of word books that were also very popular. As a matter of fact, we know a lot about early performances from word books as well as from the actual music. So it made a whole lot more economic sense to be able to print collections of texts and then indicate which hymn tune they might fit with.
The ballads that tell the stories of great heroes and so forth, many of these were never written down. We'll never know them. It's only the more popular ones, or the ones of greater interest, that at some point a printer puts the words into type and runs off copies. And by, say, 1810, we start to get into the mass production of sheet music. We had been importing it from England and other European countries for a while, but we really get into printing by then. And it's that mechanism that's in place when the Star-Spangled Banner is first put into sheet music form.
Francis Scott Key came to Annapolis at the age of 10 and began the first of 7 years at St. John's College,
which even today, more than 200 years later, subscribes to the broad, great books study of Greek, of a language, science, exposure to cultures going well back in time. Especially as he rubs shoulders with other wealthier gentlemen. This expectation of writing poetry, of having a sensitivity, a cultural heart, was very important.
He was very fortunate, even though at a young age he was away from home, but he had family that lived in Annapolis and just outside of Annapolis.
He stayed with his great-aunt and uncle, whom he was named after, Dr. Upton Scott.
Dr. Scott served in the Royal Army and was also the personal physician to the colonial governor, Sharp. And so here we have Key, who we think of as a great American patriot, who spent many of his formative years in the house of what we could call a loyalist.
Francis Scott Key was a religious man within the Episcopal Church, not just attending services, but taking leadership roles as well. And therefore he would have been exposed to church music. In fact, he ended up composing a couple of hymns.
After he graduated from St. John's College, he was at a crossroads. He didn't know if he wanted to go into the ministry or whether he wanted to become an attorney.
Francis Scott Key was my four-greats-grandfather. And he and his wife Polly were married here in Annapolis.
When Key married into the Lloyd family, he married into a very musical family. Mrs. Lloyd, his mother-in-law, played on the English guitar. Music was an important defining aspect of upper-class life.
The Lloyd family might have been a little hesitant that their daughter was marrying someone who was maybe not quite at the same level that they were. But nevertheless, the marriage did take place. It appears that it was a very happy marriage.
And he was very close to his whole family. And I think I have this feeling they had a lot of fun together.
And as far as I can determine, they got along well with the Lloyd family.
Whether it's the national anthem or My Country 'Tis Thee, it shouldn't surprise any of us that some of our patriotic songs are based on English melodies. I mean, we were the 13 English colonies at one point in time.
Melody in the 18th century was not owned by anybody. I like to think of it as being a pot of melody from which everybody can freely take whatever they need.
In musical terminology, parody is when new words are created for an existing melody.
You might know it as Lazy Mary, will you get up?
This is the way we wash our clothes.
Same exact melody. This was called Nancy Dawson in the 18th century. And again, it was used for many, many, many things. It was a marching tune. It was a song melody for many, many songs.
Yankee Doodle, unbelievably popular in military and civilian settings, but a highly symbolic tune. Always a taunting song, always a teasing song.
Well, Yankee Doodle is a humorous nickname, so we are embracing a contemptuous term and turning it to our benefit and saying, all right, okay, you want to call us Yankee Doodle? Well, here's our little song.
The taunting nature of Yankee Doodle was used over and over again. There are Yankee Doodles that attacked Thomas Jefferson over the Sally Hemings affair. It lasts and up through the Civil War, up into the 20th century, and even today, really. I mean, people, it's one of the tunes you can just goof around with. Everyone knows it.
Lost again. Hey, Pete, give us a song.
Yeah, Pete. They tell us they're too big to fail, and folks should not be queasy. So many houses up for sale, the banks make it so easy. Yankee Doodle, pay your bills, Yankee Doodle dandy. Keep your lenders guessing still, and with your cash be handy.
What about unemployment?
The jobless rate is through the roof, economy's a doozy. It doesn't pay to be aloof. We beggars can't be choosy. Yankee Doodle, pay your bills, Yankee Doodle dandy. Keep your lenders guessing still, and with your cash be handy.
Well, if somebody told me that God Save the King had been set to a drinking song, it wouldn't embarrass me or annoy me. I would actually be quite impressed by it. The Star Spangled Banner is supposed to have been based on a British drinking song. Well, of course it isn't. It's based on a song that was created by, effectively, a cultural society.
Edinburgh, Scotland was a true cultural centre and intellectual centre as well. And it seems to be the birthplace of these serious gentlemen's clubs, not just for the food and the drink, but really I think the impetus had to do with intellectual stimulation. This whole idea moved quickly to London, and of course anything that was popular in London, the colonists would want to pick up on.
No more shall fame expand her wings.
Some of these social clubs have survived into the 21st century.
Well, the Beefsteak Society, its full title is the Sublime Society of Beefsteaks, and it was founded in 1735 by John Rich, who owned the Covent Garden Theatre. We have our own Song of the Day, as it's called, and Beefsteak Anthem, which the president, which goes by rotation, has to sing, whether he can or not.
In the mid-1760s, a group of London gentlemen form a club devoted to music and mirth. The club is named after Anacreon, one of the great lyric poets of ancient Greece.
Anacreon really is famous for his love poetry and his drinking songs. Really the perfect figure to found a kind of drinking/philosophical society upon. Unlike Homer, who writes about great heroes and gods, really it seems that Anacreon is for the most part interested in writing about his love affairs and about having fun at symposia, which are the drinking parties the aristocrats would hold almost nightly. He is a drinker. He's a co-reveler. He talks about himself being drunk, and some of the ancient commentators even said that he wrote all his poems while he was drunk. So it would be this combination of somebody who is able to hold his liquor, so to speak, at the same time that he can spin off some of the more polished poetry of the day.
Almost immediately after its formation, word spread about how much fun it was to come to a meeting of the Anacreontic Society.
The society met every other Wednesday in the coffee houses and taverns of the Strand. The evening would begin with a professional concert. After a late supper, the remainder of the evening was devoted to conviviality.
A very large number of toasts, and that really ensures that the evening doesn't end up dreadfully sober, because not only are there society toasts, but every single member has to give his toast, and every single guest has to give a toast. So you can have at least 50 or 60 toasts sometimes, and the people can just get up and give a toast.
To Anacreon in heaven, where he sat in full glee, a few sons of harmony sent a petition.
In the mid-1770s, the Society's third president wrote the words to their constitutional song.
Arrived from that jolly old Grecian.
Young composer and honorary member John Stafford Smith created the melody.
I'll lend you my name and inspire you to boot. And besides I'll instruct you like me to entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine.
And besides I'll instruct you like me to entwine.
A glee is a song for a soloist and a chorus. The chorus is to amplify and give the stamp of approval as the story unfolds verse by verse.
It became very, very popular. And people started singing the song, just normal everyday folk in London.
What this meant is the music could spread high and low. And that's how it came to America, in printed sheet music form.
Even though the club itself was rather exclusive. It was a popular club because people wanted to join it, but the song everybody could sing.
Ye sons of Columbia who bravely have fought.
By the end of the 18th century, the Anacreontic song had reached America and began to flourish in parodies.
By far the most popular version, American version to date, in 1798, was Adams and Liberty, or the Boston Patriotic Song. These were new words put together by Thomas Paine, not the Paine we think of from Revolutionary era, but a different Thomas Paine. His words were really sort of the beginning of the patriotic nature of this text. We suddenly find now it's no longer a song of celebration, no longer a song about wine and women, but instead it's a song of nationalism. Mid the reign of mild peace may your nation increase with the glory of Rome and the wisdom of Greece. And ne'er may the sons of Columbia be slaves, while the earth bears a plant or the sea rolls its waves. And ne'er may the sons of Columbia be slaves, while the earth bears a plant or the sea rolls its waves. Almost a decade before the attack on Fort McHenry, Francis Scott Key wrote his first song to this melody, and this was for a dinner for Stephen Decatur.
In 1801, the Pasha of Tripoli declared war on the United States. The First Barbary War tested the fledgling American Navy and created a new generation of heroes.
The Barbary War is the first war we fight after our independence, and it's the first time war is declared upon the United States. The Barbary states were a collection of countries in North Africa. Most of them were nominally part of the Ottoman Empire, but not really. They ran their own affairs. And they lived off extortion. They ran a protection racket. If you paid these guys off, they would leave your shipping alone. If you didn't, they would practice piracy upon you. They would capture your ships, they would sell the crews into slavery, or they'd hold them for ransom. And this was the way these little countries made money. And they also did it in the name of Islam, but I think their real religion was extortion.
One of our frigates, the Philadelphia, had actually ran onto a sandbar just outside of Tripoli. Decatur, along with a volunteer crew, went out and were able to successfully get on board that vessel and burn it to keep it out of the Barbary pirate hands. And because of that, he became a naval hero.
In December of 1805, at a dinner honoring Decatur, a gentleman of Georgetown presented a new song to the Anacreontic tune.
By this time, Adams and Liberty had been sung thousands of times, had been published and republished and copied and referenced. And so his choice of this melody for a toast, for public recognition of a returning hero, was really in place by 1805.
There were several ideas from this song that Key would use again 9 years later.
You have to remember that for 25 years, American history is occurring in the shadow of a world war between Britain and revolutionary France. This is longer than World War I and II put together. It's as violent as both of them. It's as ideological as the Cold War. there's this huge struggle in Europe between the two superpowers of the earth, and we are a little country on the edges of this conflict, trying not to be sucked into it.
Free trade and sailors' rights is a very important slogan within the War of 1812. It's something that all historians will light upon.
Free trade refers to the restrictions that have been put on our trade by both of the belligerents. Both Britain and France are telling us that we can't trade with the other country.
The embargo was a huge mistake.
Dear sirs, it is wrong to demand a new song. I have let all the breath I can spare go. With the muse I've conferred, and she won't say a word, but keeps laughing about the embargo.
We're a country with a big commercial economy. We get a lot of money from the trading that we do.
So what does Thomas Jefferson decide to do? To create our own embargo, to make it illegal for our ships to trade with France and with England.
But it's really, I think, James Madison's idea.
In the time that we try to put out Britain's eye, I fear we shall let our own pair go. Yet still we're so wise we can see with French eyes, and then we shall like the embargo.
If you lived in New England, where you're so dependent upon trade with all of these countries, and now we have an embargo by our own country, all that does is make things even more difficult. So there are all kinds of protests.
We're going to cut off our nose to spite their faces. That's what the embargo means. Sailors' rights refers to the impressment issue. It's the right of a sailor to choose what country he will be a citizen of, what ships he's going to sail on.
I find it surprising that Britain thought it could stop a neutral ship and muster the ship's company, discover, if they could, whether there were British citizens on board, and then impress those men into the Royal Navy.
England had a difficult time getting enough sailors to operate their ships. A ship of the line could require hundreds of men. Well, how many people were willing to join the Royal Navy to essentially have a pretty brutal life on board one of these naval vessels?
There was just a lot of potential for confusion and abuse, especially since Britain and America spoke the same language.
Lest Britain should take a few men by mistake, who under false colours may dare go, we're manning their fleet with our tars who retreat from poverty, sloth, and embargo.
In 1807, the British stopped an American warship, the Chesapeake, fired on it, and came aboard and took off 4 sailors, one of whom they immediately hanged. The other 3 they put in prison. If Congress had been sitting at that time, it was on recess, if Congress had been sitting, we would have declared war right then. It's called Madison's War because he asked Congress to declare it. It was the narrowest vote to go to war that we would ever have in American history.
We were interested in expanding our country. We believed that we should own everything in North America, from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast. And what was one of the biggest prizes that was out there? It's what we call Canada today.
Madison wanted to invade Canada probably as a bargaining chip.
It was believed by many of the war hawks, all we had to do was to march into Canada, they would surrender, and Canada would be ours.
You know, if we got Canada, then maybe we could make the British back off on their other actions that we disliked. We would certainly break the pipeline from Canada to Indians like Tecumseh, who were harassing and pillaging our frontier.
None of the invasions of Canada were successful, not one.
During the first year of the war, a series of American naval victories offset the embarrassing losses in Canada.
Come cheer up, my lads, let's together unite, for our country, our laws, and religion to fight. While our tars sweep the ocean, our troops line the shore, let the Britons but face us, we...
Heart of Oak is the march of the Royal Navy. I've marched to it many times. As a former Royal Naval officer, I found it slightly distressing to hear my tune, which always lifts my heart, with words which perhaps in 1812 I would have found difficult to face. If I was in an inn in 1812 and I heard someone singing those words to my tune, I think there might have been a fight.
When the war started, the United States was really not well prepared. They did not have a very large standing army, and they had a relatively small navy. And here we're going to war with what could be considered the greatest military power at that time.
Whilst on board the Shannon frigate in the merry month of May, watching the bold Americans off Boston Heights we lay, our ship she lay at anchor.
So when you have an American frigate that gets captured for the first time, and we're talking about the Shannon versus the Chesapeake, this was a big deal.
The capture of the American frigate Chesapeake was celebrated in the theaters of London.
She comes in glorious style, the quarters fly, my heart's of oak, success shall soon reward our toil. Exclaim the gallant Captain Brooke, 3 cheers, my brave lads, let our honor be sweet, then give them a taste of our cannon. And soon, my bold fellows, the proud Chesapeake shall lower her flag to the Shannon.
With most of her forces still engaged in Europe, a small British fleet set sail for the Chesapeake Bay.
Most people don't even know that the Chesapeake suffered more raids than any other theater of war.
Located in the heart of the 15 United States, the region had a thriving maritime and agricultural economy.
All of that changed in the winter of 1812-1813. The British ordered a blockade to be established at the mouth of the Chesapeake. Pretty much by March, there was a British presence there. This severely affected trade.
The British quickly established a base at Tangier Island. The man in charge would leave a lasting impression on the people of the region.
Coburn was pretty ruthless. He was hated by many Americans, but particularly by those in the Chesapeake.
Well, George Coburn first was a very good naval commander. He was very able, he was a good seaman, and he was a good leader of men. He was also lucky, I think, that a very short time into the conflict of 1812, he was given a commander over him in Alexander Cochrane, one from a great naval family.
To me, the real sad part of the war was all of the raiding that took place, because we had a foreign country that had invaded the United States. The British decided to head up to the Upper Bay, and this is in April, May, and June of 1813. And that's when it really brought the war home, because what they did is they went up and they attacked places like Havre de Grace and literally destroyed it. Baltimore pretty much knew that they would be a likely target.
Baltimore is the 3rd largest city in the country. It is a booming port, very strategic.
And the British knew that a lot of privateers were being built there.
The United States government had employed private vessels since the Revolution. These so-called privateers were sanctioned to harass and engage enemy merchant vessels.
And then in exchange, of course, there's a prize, and that major portion goes to the individual that owns the ship and, of course, the people who were the crew on the ship. Privateering has been something that's been going on in Baltimore for a long time.
And if they can reduce Baltimore, that will be a huge victory for them.
In the summer of 1813, George Armistead is given command of the large fort defending Baltimore Harbor.
He decided that he needed a larger flag, and so he went to Mary Pickersgill. And he ordered a flag that was 42 feet by 30 feet. That is a big, big flag. We tend to say Mary Pickersgill made the flag, but she had an awful lot of help as well. When the English defeat Napoleon in 1814, this was bad, bad news for the United States.
1814 is the year the Empire strikes back. the British Empire. Napoleon has been beaten in Europe. They can transfer forces to North America, and they're going to end this troublesome war with this troublesome former colony. And they plan several attacks of the American mainland. One is in the north down Lake Champlain. The final one will be on New Orleans in the south, but then the third big one is in the Chesapeake.
In the summer of 1814, General Sir Robert Ross and his army reinforce Coburn's fleet in the Chesapeake.
Ross is in command of troops that had fought in the Iberian Peninsula against Napoleon.
And the first prong of it goes to Washington.
In late August, the British Army marches on Washington City. Unprepared, the American defenses are defeated at Bladensburg.
Key is present at the Battle of Bladensburg as a civilian, not as a militiaman.
They burn public Washington to the ground, the Capitol building, the White House, ruins.
A surprising fact is that the Americans burnt more buildings than did the British. And that's because the Navy Yard was ordered to be destroyed to keep it out of British hands.
After occupying Washington City, the Army returns to the fleet. One of their prisoners is Dr. William Beans.
He was a very prominent physician that lived in Upper Marlboro. Well, Beans was so popular that the people in the community did everything in their power to try to seek his release.
John Skinner, an American agent for prisoner exchange, is dispatched to negotiate the release of Dr. Beans. Sent with him is an attorney from Georgetown.
And that attorney just happens to be Francis Scott Key. So Key goes to Baltimore to join Skinner, where they hop on a packet boat with a white flag, meaning it's a truce vessel. They sail down the Chesapeake looking for the British fleet.
After 2 days, they eventually find the British fleet and begin negotiations.
What convinced them, however, is that along with them, the Americans brought letters from some of the wounded soldiers who were left behind at the Battle of Bladensburg. And those letters attested to how well they were being treated by the Americans. And so when these letters were shown to the British officers, they agreed to release Beans. But because by this time these Americans knew the intent of the British, and that was to now attack Baltimore, they were kind of under house arrest. They weren't prisoners, but they weren't allowed to leave. So that means that as the British are moving up the Chesapeake and eventually up the Patapsco River for the bombardment of Fort McHenry, Francis Scott Key, Dr. Beans, and John Stuart Skinner, along with the crew of the packet vessel, are all witnessing the bombardment from the British perspective.
Imagine, if you will, the total turnaround of events. I mean, with Washington burned, the people of Baltimore actually looked to the south, and they saw the sky lit up from the burning of their nation's capital. And then, within just 2 weeks' time, that feeling of utter destruction, of utter despair, of feeling as if a doom was just about to come up the bay, the people of Baltimore rallied. They dug trenches. They fortified their own fort. People from the countryside came in here, and we decided to make our stand, and we decided not to yield, not 1 inch. We were going to carry this day, whether we had a national government to back us up or not. We had each other, and we were going to hold firm.
As the fleet approached Baltimore, the Americans on the truce ship remembered the plans of the British.
The British were very, very astute. They realized that if they could take the fort, and by that, of course, I mean Fort McHenry, they then would be able to get their vessels close enough to bombard the city itself.
Unlike Washington, D.C., Baltimore is very well defended. It has fortifications. The militia general in charge of its defense, who's Senator Samuel Smith, does a very competent job organizing the defense.
So what the British decided to do was a two-pronged approach, and they typically did this through most of the war. They would send troops by land at North Point that would then try to attack the city on the east side. And then they would also use their flotilla to try to bombard Fort McHenry. If they were able to take Fort McHenry, they could then move closer and support their land forces. If Baltimore had fallen, it's very likely that the United States would have sued for peace.
On Sunday, September 11th, the British fleet arrived at North Point and began landing their troops after midnight.
So imagine if you're Francis Scott Key and you're being held on board the British fleet, the largest enemy fleet that ever came into the Chesapeake Bay. And you see thousands of troops. You see rocket ships. You see large warships with their cannons all getting ready to attack Baltimore.
And he had already been out into the bay for days before, encountering the British fleet, interacting with the British, obtaining the promise of the release.
And then thinking about what had just happened at Bladensburg, where the Americans did not perform very well. I suspect that Key and Skinner and even Beans were very, very worried about what might happen.
In an early skirmish, British morale is dealt a serious blow when General Ross is mortally wounded by an American sniper.
Ross was one of the best officers that they had here in North America at that time.
At 6 a.m. on Tuesday, September 13th, the bombardment of Fort McHenry begins.
And so the bombardment took place with large ships standing off alongside the troop ships. They were firing long cannon, but at such a distance they weren't really having a lot of effect. So Cochrane sends in rocket barges carrying Congreve rockets.
That was the terror of the war at that time. This is something that the Americans had never seen before. Many of the Americans first saw them at the Battle of Bladensburg, and they began to realize that maybe they weren't accurate. But by golly, they sure did scare you, because as they're coming across the sky, they're whistling, smoke's coming out, sparks are coming out, and then they can explode.
And also accompanied by 4 bomb ships. These were firing large mortars. They were firing shot that was 13 inches in diameter, weighing hundreds of pounds.
The effect of a mortar shell, or a bomb if you want to call it that, is that it can come up over the walls of the fort and land inside of the fort.
This is devastating. This happens hour after hour after hour, almost as though we were in a First World War trench under a bombardment for hours on end. The noise would have been horrendous. The bombs bursting in air, as Key puts it. The rockets' red glare. All of these things, they're frightening, they're terrifying.
What was the weather like at this time? Well, it was stormy. And because it was stormy, you've got clouds in the sky. Well, when you have an explosion underneath clouds, that light is reflected in those clouds, which makes it even more awesome.
The huge flag itself, the Star-Spangled Banner, was not flying in the rain, was not flying at night.
Well, there's no question that there were 2 flags that were made for the fort. There was the largest flag that we refer to as the garrison flag, and there was a smaller flag that we refer to as the storm flag. What were the conditions during the bombardment of the fort? It was rainy. If you had the garrison flag flying at that time that was made out of wool bunting, it would have absorbed so much water, it would have weighed, they estimate, around 400 pounds and probably would have caused the flagstaff to actually collapse. So is it likely that it was the garrison flag that flew over the fort during the bombardment, even though most Americans believe that? Not likely. It was almost certainly the storm flag. We have no idea what happened to the storm flag. We have no idea even what the storm flag looked like.
In fact, this drawing in watercolor, probably made shortly afterward, shows a flag over the fort with an unusual layout of the stars. It also shows an American vessel among the front line of British ships. Was this Key's location during the bombardment?
The rain had pretty much stopped, and the sun was beginning to come out. So early in the morning, the bombardment now stops.
After determining the fleet could not support an attack of the earthworks and troops defending Baltimore, the British land forces withdraw.
Well, this was a pretty momentous occasion for not just the guys who were in this fort, but for all of the citizens in Baltimore, because they began to realize, okay, something has happened here. Are the British, have they stopped the attack? Have we won? What's going on?
To see the Star-Spangled Banner just still floating must have lifted his spirits and his heart, and perhaps must have inspired him immediately.
There are a bunch of issues going on. Was he thinking out loud? Was he quoting something that somebody else like Skinner might have said or Beans might have asked?
What's so powerful about the Star-Spangled Banner? The first verse is a question. It ends on a question. It's not answered. is it still there? Will it still be flying? And then only in the second verse do we see, yes, it is. It's beaten back this attack. It's still up there waving.
And then little by little they began to realize that the British ships are beginning to prepare to withdraw back down the Patapsco River.
Armistead orders the fort's morning gun fired at 9 o'clock. A band plays Yankee Doodle as the large garrison flag is raised.
If I were a militiaman and I was standing on the fortifications on the east side of Baltimore, and I saw the British withdrawing, and I saw the fleet moving down the Patapsco River, I would have been beside myself with joy. Because not only did I have to face possible death, but we realized that we had a major victory.
And so it's not just a happy song. You know, it takes you through the darkness. It takes you through the effort and the struggle. And then after that, if you struggle hard enough, yes, the flag is still flying.
Well, on the other hand, think about what was it like for the British. It was pretty galling for them to have to see this grand flag flying over the fort and knowing that they were unsuccessful, because that's something that they were not accustomed to.
Key and the others were not immediately released. Skinner's duties as agent of prisoner exchange were required at North Point.
You've got around 5,000 troops that have to be ferried out into small boats to be put on the troop transports. So by the time all of this is done, a day and a half has gone by before the British are officially departing the Patapsco River. And it's only at that point that Francis Scott Key and John Stuart Skinner and Dr. William Beans are released.
In all, he was away almost 10 days. And during such a long period of time, there's plenty going on in a gentleman amateur poet's mind.
And what do they go past as they're heading toward Baltimore? They go right by Fort McHenry. By this time, the large garrison flag, the huge flag that we referred to as the Star-Spangled Banner, is proudly flying over the fort.
I mean, remember, he had written a full song, many verses, almost a decade before. And in that song, he had referenced the Star-Spangled Flag of our nation.
And that night, while he's in a hotel, he began to put those words down on paper. And as we believe, those are the very words that are on this manuscript that is preserved at the Maryland Historical Society.
Well, we'll never know exactly how the song came together, but that it was stewing and brewing melodically in his heart and in his mind. That's significant. This was not cold poetry. This was a living melody.
Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
In late 1814, Americans were truly celebrating the successful defense of Baltimore.
Not surprisingly, given the tremendous shot in the arm that the defense of Baltimore was for the nation, the Star-Spangled Banner was not the only music that told the story of what happened here in this place for our country's history.
Other songs, also put to familiar tunes, were written about the attack, but none were as popular as Key's.
So how does a good song spread at this time? It spreads if it's liked, if it resonates with people.
Key's words were first published as a broadside within a day of his return.
I guarantee you that on the way to the fort, that whoever was hand-carrying these broadsides, 1,000 broadsides, that's a lot. We're not talking a ream of modern paper here. We're talking old sheet heavy paper. We're talking people most likely just gleefully marching through the streets, sharing it, giving it away. Reports are that when sung in the theater, it would bring the house down, that with repeated encores. Obviously, that's where that song should be, in the public. Holiday Street Theater sat about 2,000 people. Can you imagine the resonance of 2,000 people?
One way to define the outcome of the War of 1812 is status quo ante. Nothing changes. But in any draw between a superpower and a lesser power, if the lesser power leaves it with the situation as it was, they can rightfully claim victory.
As the years went on, and 4th of July celebrations, presidential inaugurals, public gatherings, the Star-Spangled Banner began to take its place as a national song. In competition with the Star-Spangled Banner through the 19th century was Hail Columbia, a set of patriotic words written in 1798 to a march that was originally composed for George Washington. As we go through the middle of the 19th century, probably the Star-Spangled Banner and Hail Columbia were the two most called for nationalistic tunes. When you hear our national anthem performed at a major sporting event, how close to Francis Scott Key's vision is that performance? We're used to hearing our national anthem beginning on what's called a descending arpeggio. It's a triad sung one note at a time from the top down. Oh, say can you... that's the definitive opening melodic material of our national anthem. But that's not how the song went back then. In fact, there are publications of the Star-Spangled Banner as late as 1910, only 100 years ago, where it still is starting, as it did in Key's day, at the bottom of this triad. Oh, say, can you see? Bum-ba-dum. That's an ornament. It was added. And it wasn't really even formalized. And it didn't become the only way to do it until less than a century ago. Another interesting change. If you look back at the Anacreontic tune, where he sat in full glee, da-da-da-dum, that's not the way we do it anymore. We sing it, ya-da-da-da-da-dum. So for whatever reason, it seems to be Thomas Carr, the Maryland organist and printer and of the Carr family of publishers, who came up with this innovation of da-da-da-dum.
It became popular to the point that the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy typically used it in many of their ceremonies.
In fact, John Philip Sousa, who was for a time the leader of the United States Marine Band, Sousa had a lot to do with encouraging the performance of this piece, not just in America, but on his world tours, and heightening people's awareness of this great tune.
It's hard to believe that a country that was formed in 1775, 1776 did not have a national anthem until 1931.
In 1918, Maryland Congressman John Charles Linthicum received a one-sentence letter from the Maryland Daughters of 1812.
Mrs. Holloway was a go-getter. When she believed in a cause, she went with it. Not just Star-Spangled Banner, but anything. And she was going to make Star-Spangled Banner because of Baltimore. She was a homer like me. That was going to be our national anthem. There was no two ways about it. And she got the job done.
In this letter, they pointed out that Francis Scott Key was from Maryland. They pointed out that the defense of Fort McHenry, later known as the Star-Spangled Banner, took place in Maryland. And as their Maryland representative, they formally requested him to put legislation before the president to make the Star-Spangled Banner our national anthem.
And so there was a resolution put before Congress, and it failed. And the reason that it failed is that the American public could not come together on what that song should be. Should it be America the Beautiful, which is very popular? Should it be Hail Columbia, which was used oftentimes, particularly in military situations? Or should it be the Star-Spangled Banner? Or should it be something else altogether?
In 1929, Linthicum's bill for the anthem finally made it to the floor of Congress.
So this debate began. And there were a lot of people who believed that it should not be the Star-Spangled Banner because, number one, it's very difficult to sing.
It's a hard song to sing because of the tremendous range. So you've got to be careful to start it in the right key. Otherwise, you get to a point in the song when it goes high when you either have to shift octaves or scrape. And that can be something very embarrassing and difficult, not only for the singer, but for those who would sing along.
Number two, it's a song about a war.
Is it belligerent? Yes, a little bit. But so is nation building, so is defending a nation.
There were other people who believed that because this was a drinking song, and we know, of course, that that's not technically true, it was a gentleman's club song, but why would we want to promote a song that is supposedly based on drinking? There were just many, many different opinions.
On March 3, 1931, President Herbert Hoover signed the law adopting the Star-Spangled Banner as the national anthem of the United States.
Today we're coming up on 200 years after the event, but less than 100 years after it has been named to be our national anthem. Is it secure in its place?
The Star-Spangled Banner is stirring, it's martial, but it's also elegant, and it's a joy when one hears it sung. It's uplifting, and perhaps more so even than my own national anthem, which I'm very proud and I love to sing. I think the Star-Spangled Banner has just that touch with history.
It's tradition, it's reinforcing, it's crossing generations.
It's a little high, it takes some effort. That's good. Should take a little effort.
That question's still important today, and it's resonant today, and it speaks to all of us today. And the question is this still the land of the free and the home of the brave? Does that flag still fly over a courageous, giving, generous, and brave people? And that's a question that each of us has the responsibility to answer in the story we choose to write as individuals and choose to write with our families in order to make our country a great republic for the future.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the
There's an awful fright on the streets tonight, far below the harvest moon. Washington lies sacked and burned, their guns will be here soon. But as I ride forth to Armstead's Fort, know my thoughts will be of you. Not an inch will yield beneath God's shield, with our neighbors strong and true. We'll stand alone for love and liberty. We'll stand alone for this one land of the free. And when the bombs of hell come raining down tonight, we'll stand alone for Baltimore and liberty. We'll So stand alone for Baltimore and
let's do one in D. In D. Somewhere between. Okay, somewhere between your heart and mine. All right. Somewhere between your heart and mine, there's a window I can't see through. There's a wall so high it reaches the sky. Somewhere between me and you, I love you so much I can't let you go. Sometimes I believe you love me, but somewhere between your heart and mine, there's a door without any key. Somewhere between your heart and mine, there's a love I can't understand. There's a wall so high it reaches the sky. Somewhere between you and me. Somewhere between your heart and mine, there's a love I can't understand. It's there for a while, then it fades like a smile, and I'm left in the middle again. There's a wall so high it reaches the sky. Somewhere between me and you. All right. Many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, there lived a maiden you may know by the name of Annabelle. No other thought was on her mind but to love and be loved by me. We were children both in a kingdom by the sea, but we loved one another more than love, I and Annabelle. Well, love from the angels high that coveted her and me. This was the reason long ago in the kingdom by the sea. A wind blew from a stormy cloud that took my Annabelle. And the wicked brothers came to steal her away from me. They shut her up in a tote below the kingdom by the sea. But the maiden's great that severed my soul from the love she bore from me. For the moon on me without a dream of a darling Annabelle. For many years I've wandered through the kingdom by the sea. I've laid myself beside the tomb of a beautiful Annabelle. And the moon don't beam without a dream of a beautiful Annabelle. I'll make my bed till the rising tide in the tomb by the sounding sea. I'd like to be in Charlie's shoes. That's what I've always said. 'Cause he had you and everything tied with a golden thread. Oh, Charlie left and went away, and when I got the news, wasn't long till I was walking round in Charlie's shoes. Now I'm wearing out the shoes that Charlie wore. Well, I'm walking back and forth across the floor. The trouble that drove him away. I've got for company. These nights in Charlie's shoes are killing me. I can't get it, Jim. Sorry. The greener grass that turned my head so swiftly did turn bright. And every little dream I built, she's always tearing down. I never knew old Charlie's shoes could have so many tacks of disappointing sorrows, and I wish he had them back. Now I'm wearing out the shoes that Charlie wore. I'm walking back and forth across the floor. Troubles that drove him away, I've got company. These nights in Charlie's shoes are killing me. Yes, these nights in Charlie's shoes are killing me. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't. This kind of a cute song. Open up your heart and let my love come in. Open up your heart and let my life begin. The sun's gonna shine, there'll be blue skies again. When you open up your heart and let my love come in. I know you've been hurt by an old love affair. Darling, don't blame me, I wasn't even there. Your long, lonely nights will bring to an end when you open up your heart and let my love come. Open up your heart and let my love come in. Open up your heart and let my life begin. The sun's gonna shine, there'll be blue skies again when you open up your heart and let my love come in. Someone before me has treated you like dirt. Someone before me has made your heart hurt. The long, lonely nights I'll bring to an end when you open up your heart and let my love come in. Open up your heart and let my love come in. Open up your heart and let my life begin. The sun's gonna shine, there'll be blue skies again when you open up your heart and let my love come in. When you open up your heart and let my love come in. That's a cute little song, isn't it? Yes, it is. I heard it. I'd rather sleep in a bunk like a bum on the street than a pine feather bed without your little old cold feet. And I'd rather be a magnolia wind. If I can't get your scent on a magnolia wind. Good G got Heartache by the Number. Heartache number one was when you left me. I never knew that I could hurt this way. And heartache number two was when you come back again. You came back but never had to stay. Now I've got heartaches by the number, trouble by the score. Every day you love me less, each day I'll love you. Yes, I've got heartaches by the number, a love that I can't win. But the day that I stop counting, that's the day my world will end. Heartache number three was called me and said that you were coming back to stay. With hopeful heart I waited for your knock on the door. I waited but you must have lost your way. Now I've got heartaches by the number, every day you love me less, each day I'll love you. Yes, I've got heartaches by the number, a love that I can't win. But the day that I stop counting, that's the day my world will end.
Here's a song that you guys all remember. There once was an Indian maid, a shy little prairie maid, who sang all the day a love song. It was on the plains, he'd while away the day, loved her warrior soul, this shy little maid of old, until one day he rode away in the battle and the fray. Now the moon shines tonight on pretty red Creek, the breeze is sighing, the night birds crying, 404 beneath the stars her brave was sleeping, while red wing weeping her heart away. She watched for him day and night, she kept all the campfires bright, was under the sky each night she would lie and dream about him coming by and by. The last little brave returned, the heart a red wing yearned,
I know that. Okay, G for Georgia Peaches. You come home late and you come home early. You come home big when you're feeling strong, small. Come home straight and you come home curly. Claim you don't come home at all. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. Got a heart that's full of a fever. Got a weary and a jealous mind. How can a love that'll last forever? It left so far behind. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. Mighty mean and a dreadful sorrow come over the land today. How can you ask about tomorrow when we ain't got one word to say? What in the world's come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broke the speed of the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. You're out there running just to be on the run.
Clock out there. What happens on it? If it is on, what happens? I don't know, I just got a sore throat.
What year you in?
Me, I don't want your greenback dog. I don't want your greenback dog. I don't want your watching chain. All I want is your heart, darling. Won't you take me back again? I was born in East Virginia. South Carolina, I did go. There I loved a pretty little maid, and her age I did not know. I don't want greenback dog. I don't want your watching chain. All I want is your heart, darling. Won't you take me back again? Can you do that? Oh, her hair, brown and curly, and her cheeks were rosy red, and her breast she wore white lily. All the tears that I had shed. I don't want your greenback dog. And I don't want your watching chain. All I want is your heart, darling. Won't you take me back again?
you ever learn to love me, I will run away with you. I don't want your greenback dollar, and I don't want your watch and chain. All I want is your heart, darling. Won't you take me back again? Yeah, won't you take me back again?
Yeah, that's a good one, Jim. We got to do that one more. Good an A. Okay, A for apples. Apple cider. Along about 1825, I left Tennessee very much alive. I never would have made it through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been riding on the Tennessee flood. Had some trouble with my sweetheart Paul. Sent her a letter from my Uncle Bud, and I rode away on the Tennessee stud. Stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a hawk on the Tennessee stud. We drifted on down into no man's land, we crossed the river called Rio Grande. Horse with the Tennessee Spaniards and got away to the me and the gambler, we couldn't agree to fight in Tennessee. We heard our guns, he fell with the flood, and I got away on the Tennessee stud. Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. Nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a hawk on the Tennessee stud. Well, I got lonesome as a man could be, dreaming about girl Tennessee. Tennessee stud's eyes, green eyes turned blue, and he was dreaming about his sweetheart too. Right on across Arkansas, a wounded brother and a wounded. Found that girl with the golden hair, and she was riding on the Tennessee mare. Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a hawk on the Tennessee stud. Stirrup and side by side, we crossed the valley wide. Came big muddy, then we forded the flood on the Tennessee mare and the Tennessee stud. Pretty little baby on the cabin floor, big horse running round the door. I love the girl with the golden hair and the Tennessee stud, but the Tennessee mare. Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, and there never was a hawk like the Tennessee stud. That's what to tell me.
G3 or G Whiz?
George 3. Gee whiz 3. We haven't done this one today. Sweet Caroline. Where it began, I can't begin to know it. But then I know it's growing
Good times never seem so good. I'm inclined to believe they never would. Oh, look at the night, and it does seem so lonely. We fill it up with only two. And when I heard curtain runs off my shoulder, how can I hurt when holding you? Touching warm, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, good times never seem so good. I'm inclined to believe they never would. Sweet Caroline, the times never seem so good. I'm inclined to believe they never would. Caroline, I believe they never could.
Another day, another dollar. Another day, another dollar. Daylight comes, I'm on my way. Another day, another dollar. Working my whole life away. The boss told me I'd get paid weekly. That's exactly how I'm paid. Another day, another dollar. Working my whole life away. Another day, another dollar. Daylight comes, I'm on my way. Another day, another dollar. Working my whole life. My family is my Thanksgiving. I love them more and more each day. And they're the reason I keep living and working my whole life away. Another day, another dollar. Daylight comes, I'm on my way. Another day, another dollar. Working my whole life away.
Yeah. I held your hand in San Francisco, kissed your lips in New Orleans. We've been up north and way out west, and all boys in between. But home is where the heart is, and my heart is in these hills, and it always brings me back, and I know it always will. Walking in the Blue Ridge, oh, what a sight to see. Roaming through the mountains, each step of memories. I've been all around this whole wide world. Still my favorite thing to do is walking in the Blue Ridge with you. Shenandoah down to Georgia, a picture so serene. Caroline simply divine, like strolling through a dream. Each stroke upon the canvas, a masterwork of art. We go up the hills and down the valleys, hand in hand and heart to heart. Walking in the Blue Ridge, oh what a sight to see. Roaming through the mountains, each step of memory. I've been all around this whole wide world. Still my favorite thing to do is walking through the Blue Ridge with you. Walking through the Blue Ridge with you.
Very good.
It's folk gospel, Wayfaring Stranger.
You remember that, huh?
Oh, wow.
You was there when it come out.
Yeah, I was there. E for E for Echo. I am a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, torn or dangerous in that fair land to which I go. I'm going home to see my mother. I'm going home, no more to roam. I am just going over Jordan. I am just going over home. I know dark clouds will hover over me. I know my pathways are rough and steep, but
next song. Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else still by your side, and he looks so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past came slowly stealing as I brushed your arm and walked so close to you. And suddenly I got that old time feeling. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Take that. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you just the way I used to do. Oh, heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Boy, that was
You guys
good.
lost me.
Had this thing for a month or two, a couple of months.
He looked down into her brown eyes, said, say a prayer for me. She threw her arms around him and whispered, God will keep us free. They could hear the riders coming. He said, this is my last fight. They take me back to Texas. They won't take me back alive. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lover in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. He reached down and picked the gun up that lies smoking in his hand. She said, Father, please forgive me. I can't make it without my man. She knew the gun was empty. She knew she couldn't win. But her final prayer was answered when the rifle fired again. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lover in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for lovers in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. Yeah, 7 Spanish angels took another angel home.
Oh, I don't got the paper, but you know how to. I got one in my box, I just remembered. Play me the waltz of the angel. I played a party last night for some old folks. They were dancing and smiling at me. Sat this old man alone at a table, as if there's someplace that he'd rather be. So I said, sir, can I play something for you? Something special that you'd like to hear. When he looked up at me, he was smiling. Oh, but his eyes couldn't hide the tears. He said, play me the waltz of the angel, and I'll close my eyes and pretend. Play me the waltz of the angel, so I can dance with my angel again. Said yes, that's a song I remember. That's the one that she loved the best. It was playing the night that I met her, and it was playing when we laid her to rest. Said, play me the waltz of the angel, and I'll close my eyes and pretend. Play me the waltz of the angel, so I can dance with my angel again. Said, play me the waltz of the angel, I'll close my eyes and pretend. Play me the waltz of the angel, so I can dance with my angel again. It's a good old country song. Send me the pillow you dream on. In A. Send me the pillow that you dream on. Don't you know that I still care for you? Send me the pillow that you dream on. So darling, I can dream on it too. Each night while I'm sleeping, oh so lonely, I'll share loving dreams that once were true. Send me the pillow that you dream on, so darling, I can dream on it too. Send me the pillow that you dream on. Maybe time will let our dreams come true. Send me the pillow that you dream on, so darling, I can dream on it too. I've waited so
just memories, all that's left of you. Send me the pillow that you dream on, so darling, I can dream on it too. So darling, I can dream on it too. Rank Stranger in D for Delta. I wandered again to my home in the mountains. A new sunny dawn, I was happy and free. I looked for my friends, but I never could find them. I found they were all rank strangers to me. Everybody I met seemed to be a rank stranger. No mother, no dad, not a friend could I see. They knew not my name, and I knew not their faces. I found they were all rank strangers to me. They've all moved away, said the voice of a stranger, to the beautiful home by the bright crystal sea. Some beautiful day I'll meet them in heaven, where no one will be a stranger to me. Everybody I met seemed to be a rank stranger. No mother, no dad, not a friend could I see. They knew not my name, and I knew not their faces. I found they were all rank strangers to me. I found they were all rank strangers to me. Well, yeah. This 1959. 10 years ago, on a cold dark night, someone was killed neath the town hall light. There are a few at the scene, but they all agree that the slayer ran looked a lot like me. The judge said, son, what is your alibi? If you're somewhere else, you won't have to die. I spoke not a word, although it meant my life. I had been in the arms of my best friend's wife. She walks each hill in a long black veil. She visits my grave when the night winds wail. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. The scaffold was high and eternity near. She stood in the crowd and she shed not a tear. But sometimes at night, when the cold wind moans in a long black veil, she cries over my bones. She walks these hills in a long black veil. She visits my grave when the night went wild. Nobody knows, oh, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Nobody knows but me.
One more, D for Delta.
D for Delta, what you got in G?
Oh, yeah. Well, he caused it.
You're sneaking up.
I'm glad you said
You're
so.
throwing his curves there.
What a beautiful thought I am thinking concerning a great speck of earth. Remember her name is recorded on the pages of God's holy word. She is spreading her wings for a journey. She is going to take by and by. When a trumpet sounds in the morning, she will meet her dear Lord in the sky. In the presence of all her despisers, with a song never uttered before, she will rise and be gone in a moment, till the great tribulation is over. I am glad I have learned of his teaching. I am glad that my name is on his book. For I want to be one never fearing on the face of my Savior to love. When he cometh descending from heaven on a cloud that is written in his word, I'll be joyfully carried up to meet him on the wing of that great speck of bird. She is spreading her wings for a journey. She is going to take by and by. When the trumpet sounds in the morning, she will meet her dear Lord in the sky.
Good. Strum along with him anyway.
God must be a cowboy.
Here's a picture. I got a hole in it and some gook.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Campfire glistening from a tin cup in my hand, sure warms the body and the toe. Playing my guitar, a friend I understand, soothes out the wrinkles in my soul. Sleeping in the moonlight, a blanket for my bed leaves a peaceful feeling in my mind. Wake up in the morning, an eagle overhead makes me want to fly away before my time. And I think God must be a cowboy at heart, 'cause he made wide open spaces from the start. He made grass and trees and mountains wide open spaces from the start. He made grass and trees and mountains and a horse to be your friend, and trails to lead old cowboys home again, and trails to lead old cowboys home again.
Okay. Here's your other one.
Okay.
In the garden.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the rose, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks and the sound of His voice is so sweet the birds hush their singing, and the melody that He gave to me within my heart is ringing, and He walks with me and He talks with me and tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
What is that, a B?
A D1. I'll play it. D sharp.
One song for me?
Sure.
All right, guys, we'll see you later.
In the twilight glow I see you, blue eyes crying in the rain. When we kissed goodbye and parted, I knew we'd never meet again. Love is like a dying ember, and only memories remain. Help me, Jim. Through the ages I'll remember blue eyes crying in the rain. Someday when we meet up yonder, we'll stroll hand in hand again in that land that knows no parting. Blue eyes crying in the rain. Now my hair has turned to silver. All my life I've loved in vain. I can see her star in heaven. Blue eyes crying in the rain. I said blue eyes crying in the rain. Thank you much. Cowboy Chuck from Boulder City.
All right.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place place he'd never been before. Left yesterday behind him, you might say he's born again. You might say he found a key to every door. When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away, on the road hanging by a song. But the string's already broken, and he doesn't really care. He keeps changing fast, it don't last for long. And the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. Shadows from the starlight were softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High. He climbed Cathedral Mountains, saw silver clouds below, saw everything as far as you can see. And they say that he got crazy once and he tried to touch the sun. He lost a friend but kept the memory. Now he walks in quiet solitude, the mountains and the streams, seeking grace in every step he takes. His mind is turned inside himself to try and understand the serenity of a clear blue mountain lake. And a Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. You can talk to God, listen to a casual reply. Rocky Mountain High. Now his mind is full of wonder, his heart still knows some fears of the simple things he cannot comprehend. Why they try to tear the mountains down to bring in a couple more people, more scars upon the land. And the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. I know he'd be a poor man if he never saw an eagle fly. Rocky Mountain High in Colorado. Rocky Mountain High in Colorado. Friends around the campfire, everybody's high. Rocky Mountain High. Thank you. Thank you. The Dutchman's not the kind of man to keep his thumb jammed in the dam that holds his dreams in. That's a secret only Margaret knows. When Amsterdam is golden in the morning, Margaret brings him breakfast she believes in. He thinks the tulips bloom beneath the snow. He's mad as he can be. Margaret only sees that sometimes she sees her unborn children in his eyes. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Now, dear Margaret remembers that for me. The Dutchman still wears wooden shoes, his coat and cap are patched with love Margaret sewed in. Sometimes he thinks he's still in Rotterdam. He watches tugboats down canals, waves out when he thinks he knows the captain. Till Margaret comes to take him home again. Down unforgiving streets that trip him even though he holds her hand. Sometimes he thinks he's alone, calls her name. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Now, dear Margaret, the windmills whirl the winter in. She winds his muffler tighter. They sit in the kitchen. Some tea with whiskey keeps away the dew. He sees her for a moment, calls her name out, singing some old love song. They learned it when the tune was very new. He hums a line or two. They hum together in the night. The Dutchman falls asleep. Margaret blows the candle out. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Now, dear Margaret remembers that for me. Thank you very much. My name is Dodge, but you know that. It's written on the chart there at the foot end of the bed. They think I'm blind, I can't read it. I've read it every word, and every word it says is death. Soul confession, is that the reason that you came? Get it off my chest, for I check out of the game since you mention it. There's 13 things I'll name, 13 crosses high above. The cold Missouri water, August 49, North Montana. The hottest day on record, and the forest tinder dry. Lightning strikes in the mountains. I was crew chief at the jump base. I prepared the boys to fly. Pick the drop zone. C-47 comes in low. Feel the tap on your leg that tells you go. See the circle of the fire down below. 15 of us dropped above the cold Missouri waters. Gauge the fire, I'd seen bigger. I ordered them to Side Hill. We would fight it from below. We'd have our backs to the river. We'd have it lit by morning, even if we took it slow. But the fire crown jumped the valley up ahead. There was no way down. Headed for the ridge instead. We can't make it. Have to fight that slope instead. Flames one step behind. The cold Missouri water. Sky had turned red, smoke was boiling. 200 yards to safety, death was 50 yards behind. I don't know why, I just thought it. Struck a match to waist-high grass, we were running out of time. Tried to tell them, step into this fire I've set, we can't make it. This is the only chance you'll get, but they curse me. Ran for the ridge instead. I lay down and prayed above the cold Missouri water. phoenix. In a world reduced to ashes, there was none but to survive. I spent that night, one day after, carried bodies to the river, wondering how I'd stayed alive. 13 stations of the cross to mark their fall. I've had my say. I'll confess to nothing more. I'll join them, those that left me long before. 13 crosses high above the cold Missouri water.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just a typical American boy from a typical American town. I believe in God and Senator Dodd and keeping old Castro down. But when it came my time to serve, I knew better dead than red. So I went down to my old draft board and this is what I said. Sarge, I'm only 18, I got a ruptured spleen and I always carry a purse. I got eyes like a bat and my feet are flat and my asthma's getting worse. Consider my career my sweetheart dear and my poor old invalid aunt. You know I ain't no fool, I'm going to school, working in a defense plant. I got a dislocated disc and a racked up back and I'm allergic to flowers and bugs. And if a bombshell hits, I get epileptic fits and I'm addicted to 1,000 drugs. I got the weakness woes, can't touch my toes, can't hardly reach my knees. And if the enemy ever gets close to me, I think I'll start to sneeze. 'Cause I'm only 18, I got a ruptured spleen and I always carry a purse. I got eyes like a bat and my feet are flat and my asthma's getting worse. Consider my career my sweetheart dear, my poor old invalid aunt. You know I ain't no fool, I'm going to school, working in a defense plant. I hate show and lie and I hope he dies. And there's one thing you gotta see, if someone's gotta go over there, that someone isn't me. So I wish you well, Sarge, give 'em hell and kill me 1,000 or so. And if you ever get a war without blood and gore, well, I'll be the first to go. 'Cause I'm only 18, I got a ruptured spleen and I always carry a purse. I got eyes like a bat and my feet are flat and my asthma's getting worse. Consider my career my sweetheart dear and my poor old invalid aunt. You know I ain't no fool, going to school, working in a defense plant. Thank you. Cross on your heart, you have blood on your hands, you have mud on your shoes. You're making a stand, you're running a race, and your only prize is you found you a reason to rise. Find a reason to rise, to carve out a face on a mountain of stone. Day after day, just one man alone, and it took 20 years to get to his eyes. But he's found him a reason to rise. Find a reason to rise. And you must realize you're not telling lies. It's crazy but shines in your eyes. And you must realize on the stars in the sky, you found you a reason to rise. Find a reason to rise. Now here's what you do when you give it your all and you're too tired to run and you're too weak to crawl, with a pain in your heart and a tear in your eye. You find your reason to rise. Find a find those reasons to rise. Find a reason to rise. Thank you. There are children raised in sorrow on a scorched and barren plain. There are children raised beneath the golden sun. There are children of the water and children of the sand. They cry throughout the universe, voices raised as one. I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see and I want to know. I want to share what I can give. I want to be and I want to live. Have you gazed out on the ocean, seen the breaching of a whale? Have you watched the dolphins frolic in the foam? Have you heard the song the humpback hears 500 miles away, telling tales of ancient history, passages and home? I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see and I want to know. I want to share what I can give. I want to be and I want to live. For the worker and the warrior, the lover and the liar, for the native and the wanderer in kind, for the maker and the user, the mother and her son. I'm looking for my family. All of you are mine, 'cause we are standing here together, face to face and arm in arm. We are standing on the threshold of a dream. No more hunger, no more fighting, no more wasting life away. It is simply an idea. I know its time has come. I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share all I can give. I want to be and I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share all I can give. I want to be and I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share all I can give. I want to be, I want to live.
Hi, I'm Mike Passini, Community Affairs Director for Boulder Disposal. Citywide no-sort recycling is here. Boulder City now has expanded a citywide, comprehensive no-sort recycling program. It is so simple to use and proven to increase recycling results virtually overnight. Welcome to the Boulder City Recycling Center, where thousands and thousands of tons of your recyclables are diverted from being buried in our landfill. You can now recycle at home, at work, and at school. The new recycling program is totally easy, so do your part, aim for zero waste. How easy is it, you ask? You throw all your recyclables into one bin and you're done. And it's that simple. Just put your cart at the curb before 6 a.m. every Wednesday to ensure pickup.
Recycling is now available for single-family and multifamily residences, including apartments, mobile home parks, and RV parks.
The new program includes businesses, schools, and parks too. So no matter where you are in Boulder City, you can do your part.
The industry term for no-sort recycling is single stream. In its simplest terms, what used to be multiple streams of recyclables needed to be separated by the homeowner in advance of pickup. The no-sort method combines all the streams, paper, plastic, and glass, into one. All participants need to do is throw all recyclables into one container. And due to technological advances in recovering the materials, nearly all of the waste is effectively recycled. Be sure to review the No-Sort Recycling Guide brochure that came with your container to ensure proper material disposal. Recyclable guidelines are also indicated on the container lid.
Boulder City, with your continued commitment to recycling and our new BC Waste-Free No-Sort Recycling program, we are confident we can more than double the amount of recyclables kept out of our landfill. All homeowners can participate in the citywide BC Waste-Free Curbside Recycling program. Each homeowner will be provided with a green 65-gallon wheeled recycling bin.
All recycling will be collected on Wednesday every week. Place all recyclable materials in the green bin and wheel it to the curb. Remember, the green bin should have no food, yard waste, clothing, styrofoam, wax-coated cartons, or cups. It's very important to keep the green bin for our recyclables only. Once your green bins have been emptied, the recyclables are trucked to the Boulder City Recycling Center and unloaded.
It's here at the Boulder City Recycling Center where your recyclables are loaded into containers and trucked to the main recycling center in North Las Vegas. So no matter where you are in Boulder City, you can do your part. Aim for zero waste. For those residences requiring additional recycling bins, please email us at contact@bcwastefree.com or visit us online at bcwastefree.com. Improved recycling is vital to the future of our city and our planet. Aim for zero waste. I'm Mike Piscini, Community Affairs Director for Boulder Disposal, and together we'll make Boulder City cleaner and greener.
Water conservation is a priority in southern Nevada. Reduce your water footprint in 3 simple steps. Spring forward with seasonal watering restrictions, but don't water more than you need to. And find and fix the most common household leaks to avoid water waste. See all the ways to save here on Waterways. Mandatory watering restrictions can help us all water wisely, avoid overwatering, and reduce water waste. In spring, you may be inclined to water more as the temperatures warm, but you don't need to. Your landscape can survive on less. The key is to monitor your landscape regularly and fine-tune seasonal needs.
On average, Valley residents use about 60% of their water outside. That means outdoors is also where residents have the greatest potential to conserve water. One of the most effective ways to save water is to follow mandatory watering restrictions. In March and April, both sprinkler and drip watering are limited to 3 assigned days a week according to your watering group. Properties in groups A, C, and E can water on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Properties in groups B, D, and F can water on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Watering on Sunday is not permitted for any group. If you don't know your assigned watering days or group, simply look on your water bill, call your water provider, or visit snwa.com for help.
Turf watered by sprinklers and plants and trees watered by drip emitters have different needs. So let's first talk about sprinklers.
Check your irrigation clock first to ensure sprinklers are running only on your assigned spring days. Next, set your irrigation controller's start times to run sprinkler cycles in early morning. Water applied in the morning packs more of a punch since it won't evaporate under peak daytime temperatures or get swept away by afternoon winds. Another key to efficient lawn watering is spacing sprinkler cycles over a few hours to ensure your grass doesn't get more than it can possibly drink.
Jared, tell us why it's better to water your lawn with short sprinkler cycles.
It's great to run your sprinklers in short cycles, roughly for about 4-minute increments, and we actually call it the cycle and soak method. The reason why is that it lets the water run deep into the root zones, and it also avoids runoff. If the water runs from the grass into the street, you might be charged a water waste fee, and that would show up on your bill.
Many warm season grasses, such as Bermuda, can stay healthy with even less water. Think about testing this on your lawn. If you remove 1 minute from each of your 4-minute sprinkler cycles, you can reduce sprinkler watering by 25%. Water dry spots with a handheld hose and test sprinklers for a minute or two after every spring mowing. Look for misaligned sprinkler heads and replace broken parts promptly to avoid water waste.
Let's switch gears and talk about drip irrigation. Drip watering is needed less frequently, however you'll set it to run longer, typically 30 minutes or more each time.
That's because drip irrigation delivers water more slowly and deeply to a plant's root zone in gallons per hour rather than gallons per minute. Delivered properly, drip irrigation promotes deep roots that provide better anchoring and stability, protection from hot surface temperatures, and a greater amount of nutrients. Drip irrigation is permitted 3 days a week in spring, but established plants often do well with less.
Just because you're scheduled to water 3 times a week doesn't necessarily mean that you need to water your plants that many times. What you generally want to do is to monitor your plants and make sure that you transition them well. So, for example, in the early spring, you can water them once, and then eventually twice, and then eventually 3 times a week. That way you make sure that your plants are going to be growing correctly and that when it warms up, they have the correct amount of water.
Like sprinklers, you should routinely check your drip system to keep your landscape's lifeline in good working condition. Walk through your landscape monthly and look for broken lines or clogged emitter heads. Flush your drip line through the end cap in both spring and fall. If you've got some spring landscaping projects planned, the key is to think smart from the start. New desert-adapted plants will need extra watering as they get established, which is allowed for the first 30 days under watering restrictions. After that, it's time to cut back. For more spring watering tips, visit snwa.com.
If you're caught watering outside your assigned watering days, you could receive a water waste fine. SNWA member agencies conduct water waste investigations throughout the valley and cite water wasters. A property owner is given an opportunity to correct the problem, but if it continues, the property will be fined for wasting water. If you see water waste, report it immediately to your water provider. A smart irrigation controller can help to reduce water waste by helping you manage your outdoor water use. If you have an older irrigation controller, consider an upgrade. The SNWA offers a rebate for qualifying smart controllers, which use weather data to assess and apply water only as your landscape needs it. New smart controllers allow you to control your watering needs from the palm of your hand through mobile apps.
So you can do all of that activity right here from your phone. With a simple app, I can stand anywhere on my property or really anywhere in the world and tell my irrigation system to change its program, and all those changes would be reflected right here. So I can just choose a particular area, I can edit the program, I can choose the days of the week, what times to start. I can even put in pictures of the areas of my landscape so that I remember which zone connects with which portion of the landscaping. So this is all happening now for about $100. And with our Smart Controller rebate program, you'd get 50 of that back.
Visit snwa.com to learn more about Water Smart Controllers and to print the coupon. Mandatory watering restrictions can help us all water wisely, avoid overwatering, and reduce water waste. In spring, you may be inclined to water more as the temperatures warm, but you don't need to. Your landscape can survive on less. The key is to monitor your landscape regularly and fine-tune seasonal needs.
Las Vegas is the driest city in the nation. We average a dismal 4 inches of rain a year and rely on the Colorado River for 90% of our water supply. The river system, however, is facing the worst drought in the basin's recorded history. As a result, Lake Mead's water level has dropped more than 130 feet since 2000. With a possible federally declared water shortage in 2020, water conservation is critical for the community. A majority of Southern Nevada's water is used outdoors, primarily on landscapes, and cannot be recycled and returned to Lake Mead. Reducing outdoor water use is an important conservation goal that will help protect Southern Nevada from shortage.
There are 3 steps you can take to cut your outdoor water use and make a positive impact on conservation efforts. Follow mandatory watering restrictions, report water waste, and remove useless grass. Doug, let's start with mandatory watering restrictions. Why is it so important to water only on your assigned watering days?
Well, first of all, it's important that people know that we created those restrictions around the needs of even a high water use landscape. So you can certainly keep your landscape healthy and still comply with the restrictions. What's cool about the restrictions is it seems like a fairly small and simple thing for people to do, change their clock 4 times a year. But if everybody gets on board, everyone in the valley complies with those restrictions, we're talking about saving billions of gallons of water every year.
Don't know which day you're supposed to water? We can help. Visit snwa.com and type your address where it says Find Your Watering Days and Group right on the homepage. You could incur a water waste fee if you're not following the mandatory watering restrictions.
Define water waste and what issues could result in a water waste fine.
Well, the most conspicuous type of water waste is allowing water to flow or spray off your property. So when you see water just flowing down the street, that's obviously not doing anyone any good. It's not helping a plant, simply throwing away a valuable resource. But the other ways that you can violate the water waste policy are by watering on a day that wasn't assigned to you. So remember, never on Sundays, and look up your watering schedule and know it. And also during the midsummer, we even have time of day restrictions. We don't want to run sprinkler systems in the heat of the day when that water is simply just evaporating before it can even reach the ground.
Water waste fees for SNWA member agencies start at $40 to $80 for most residential customers and double each month if the water waste continues. Properties with larger meters pay significantly more for wasting water. These charges appear on your water bill. If you're wasting water, fix it before you incur a water waste fee, and report water waste to your water provider when you see it. The biggest water guzzler is grass. If the only time you step on your grass is to mow it, take it out and receive a cash rebate when you replace it with WaterSmart landscaping. An average 1,000 square foot residential landscape conversion can save more than 50,000 gallons of water per year.
But when we do remote sensing, use aerial images to look around the valley, we suspect that there's still as much ornamental or non-functional turf in the valley as has been converted to WaterSmart landscaping. So we're about halfway through what we consider to be an important project. We've been doing this now 18 years. And so we're working with some of the customers that are most resistant to these types of changes, and it's important that they reevaluate what they're doing, reevaluate what their needs, how their needs might have changed. In some cases, people's lifestyle has changed, and they might be ready now to undertake these projects. And we're also offering the largest incentive we've ever offered. So we're trying to reach that remaining non-functional turf in the valley, things where people only get on it when they're pushing a lawnmower. We can't afford water for that.
Businesses and residents can apply for the SNWA's WaterSmart Landscapes rebate online or by calling the Conservation Helpline. Once you've completed the application, the SNWA will review your lawn and conversion areas and answer any questions you may have. You must participate in a pre-conversion site visit before removing any grass.
If you don't have grass, but you live in a community where there is useless grass, like this, ask your homeowners association to remove it and replace it with desert landscaping.
Many of us live in an HOA, and we know it can be a little bit complicated. So you have all these common areas. So it's not as simple as convincing a single-family household to change their landscaping. What we're doing is a lot of outreach. We're doing mailings. We're trying to get ourselves in front of those boards so we can explain to them what the options are, how we might be able to help, what the financial assistance that we can provide to their project is. And likewise in the business community is also hard to reach because in some cases a facility may not be controlled by the people inside that building. And so we have to go find parent companies and so forth. Same thing, we're trying to reach out to them, get an audience with them, and have a discussion with them.
The Water Authority has teamed up with the Las Vegas Lights Football Club to encourage the community, including residents, businesses, and HOAs, to remove grass that serves no purpose.
This isn't a field, this is useless. Now we can really play.
The SNWA will pay you to remove useless grass. Our Water Smart Landscapes rebate program offers $3 for every square foot of grass you replace with desert landscaping, up to 10,000 square feet. Beyond that, customers can earn $1.50 per square foot. Since the rebate program launched in 1999, the community has removed more than 188 million square feet of turf and conserved more than 119 billion gallons of water. Leaks, whether big or small, waste water. If your water bill has increased recently for no apparent reason, you may have a leak in your home or landscape. Put on your detective cap and track down the most common water wasters with these tips.
Many U.S. homes can waste on average more than 10,000 gallons of water to leaks each year. That's enough to fill a small swimming pool. Nationwide, household leaks can waste more than 1 trillion gallons of water annually, and that's enough to fill 40 million swimming pools and 24 billion baths. Closer to home, fixing your own leaks can make a big difference on your water bill while conserving our most precious resource. Common sources of indoor home leaks include worn toilet flappers and dripping faucets or shower heads. Most can be relatively easy and, yes, inexpensive to fix. To help get you started, the SNWA offers a free indoor water audit and retrofit kit. With the kit, you can test the water efficiency of your home and upgrade some of your fixtures.
So the indoor audit and retrofit kit serves two purposes. It has several items that you can change in your house that actually are more efficient to help you save water. And then it also provides a couple of tools to find leaks inside the house. So together, it kind of gives you opportunities to save around the house. So some examples of things that are included are a shower head that is a low-flow shower head. So it's a higher efficiency shower head, performs like your normal shower head, but uses less water. Then we also have things like a flow bag, which actually you can go around the house and test the flow of the different devices, like your aerators, your shower aerators. We give a couple of sample aerators. There's dye tablets to see if you have leaks in your toilet. So there's a lot of items in this little kit that gives you the opportunity to save water around your house. We provide these kits, one free to every property in the valley. You just have to call 258-SAVE or visit snwa.com and request the audit kit, and we'll mail it to you.
Believe it or not, the toilets in your home consume more water than your faucets and showers, especially older models. If you have a leaky toilet, or maybe you're hearing the dreaded phantom flush, that's even more water down the drain. To test your toilet for a leak, first, just listen. If it's running nonstop, you have a leak. If you're still not sure whether you have a leak, use the leak detection dye tablets from the SNWA's Indoor Water Audit and Retrofit Kit. The water's color will change to blue if you have a leak. Most likely, the culprit is a worn toilet flapper. Most flappers degrade after a few years and no longer seal tightly at that point, so leaks occur. Luckily, flappers are inexpensive and easy to replace. Better yet, leaky toilet flappers could soon become a thing of the past. That's because flapperless toilets are replacing conventional flush systems. These toilets are ultra efficient and can minimize leaks, ultimately helping to conserve water. Now what about a leaky faucet? A faucet that loses just one drip per second can waste more than 3,000 gallons per year. That's enough water to take more than 180 showers. Fix leaky faucets by checking faucet washers and gaskets for wear and replacing them if necessary. Don't overlook your shower head. A shower head that leaks 10 drips per minute wastes more than 500 gallons per year. You could wash 60 loads of dishes in your dishwasher with that amount of water. You can help create a tighter connection between the shower head and the pipe stem with pipe thread seal tape, also known as Teflon tape. If that doesn't stop the leak and the repair looks more complicated, you may want to call a licensed plumber. If you find that repairs aren't enough to stop the leaks you've found, it might be time to replace your fixtures. Look for the WaterSense label when you shop for new products to increase your home's efficiency. WaterSense labeled items are widely available at retailers, have been tested to perform at 20% higher water efficiency than average products, and provide measurable savings. And yes, they'll still get you, your clothes, and your dishes clean. So what if I suspect I have a leak, but I haven't been able to find it yet?
The first thing you want to do is make sure that everything that uses water in the house is turned off. So you want to have your irrigation off. You want to have dishwashers, washing machines, everything that uses water not using water, so shut it off. Then you want to come out and you want to come to the meter. And so if you look at the meter down here, there's two dials. The big dial is thousands of gallons, and so you're not going to see that turning unless you just have a massive leak, but usually that's not what you see. It's the little dial, which is a triangle or a little star. If everything is turned off inside and you see that little dial still turning a little bit, that means you have a leak somewhere. And then you have to go through a process of elimination to decide, is it inside or outside? Could be both, but hopefully it's not. It's one or the other. And so we'll walk around and we'll turn the irrigation system on the outside off, and then you can kind of go inside and see if there's anything inside that may be the cause of that.
Outdoors, your irrigation system is susceptible to leaks that can waste far larger volumes of water than, say, a leaky indoor faucet. That's why regular checks are vital. Systems are subject to frequent use and high temperatures in summer, along with an occasional freeze in winter. Both extremes, along with wear and tear, can lead to cracks and breaks in both pipes and drip lines, as well as broken sprinklers and emitters. To determine whether you have a leak in your landscape, turn your irrigation clock to the manual setting and run each line or station on your system for 1 to 2 minutes. Walk through your landscape. A visual inspection should turn up obvious breaks. Check your valve box as well to ensure the valves aren't leaking. If you can't find the source of the leak but find soggy grass, damp planted areas, or puddles of water, you may have a larger problem, an underground leak.
So through the process of elimination, by turning the backflow off and the irrigation, we think we've eliminated the outside. We've gone around inside and we haven't found anything. So really the next step is possibly a mainline leak or something that's underground. And for that, you really want to hire a professional. They can come out, they can kind of determine, they usually can find it, they have tools to do that. And so, somebody you want to hire to bring a professional to take care of it.
Repairing water damage caused by leaks can cost thousands of dollars for homeowners. Thanks to new, smart leak detection devices, you can prevent or mitigate water damage at your home using a smartphone app.
So leak detection devices is kind of the new technology that we're really excited about. It will help address water loss or water damage caused by leaks, which can kind of be a big issue for homeowners. And so these new devices basically will strap on to your water lines in your house, and then they will communicate to the customer through their phone. There are two types of devices, basically. One will strap on to your water line. Sometimes they go onto your meter or just onto a pipe. So you can monitor your water use. If you have a leak, you get notified. But in order to turn your water off, if you have to, you would have to come to the meter and do a turn off yourself. The other type of device, actually, you cut pipe and you install it. It also gives you information about consumption and how much you're using, but then if you have a catastrophic leak or for some need you need to turn it off, through your phone you can actually turn it off. They cost a little bit more money, they're a little more involved to install, but it actually gives you a little more protection. So there's kind of two basic types of devices that are out there, and we'll rebate both of those through our programs.
The SNWA offers a rebate of 50% of the purchase price, or $200, whichever is less. To receive the rebate, you must agree to allow SNWA to periodically conduct research through phone calls, surveys, or monitoring of water use to determine the long-term benefits of various water-smart technologies. For program details, visit snwa.com. When you turn on the tap, you expect the water to flow, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes to make that happen. Water embarks on an incredible journey before it reaches your faucet with help from municipal water agencies.
Nearly 90% of southern Nevada's drinking water begins as snow or rain in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. After the snow melts and drains into the river, the water travels hundreds of miles before reaching Lake Mead. The Southern Nevada Water Authority draws and pumps this water to its state-of-the-art water treatment facilities. Following treatment that ensures water meets all state and federal Safe Drinking Water Act standards, water flows through an intricate network of pipes, pumps, and reservoirs before reaching its final destination, your home. As a regional agency, the Water Authority secures long-term water resources and oversees conservation planning. The Water Authority also provides water treatment and wholesale delivery for Southern Nevada, delivering treated drinking water from Lake Mead to area water providers, who then deliver water to you, the customer. SNWA helps to ensure safe and reliable water delivery by operating two of the nation's most advanced water treatment facilities, River Mountains and Alfred Merritt Smith. Water quality starts at Lake Mead, the largest man-made reservoir in the nation. Spanning nearly 250 square miles, Lake Mead is also impressively deep. The Water Authority's third intake plumbs these depths to draw the freshest, purest water. The third intake is designed to maintain access to our community's primary water supply, even as lake levels continue to decline.
The third intake extends into the lowest portions of Lake Mead, ensuring that we have access to our water even though the lake levels continue to decline. Now, the deeper water is easier to treat, easier to disinfect, and provides higher quality water to our customers. The pumping station, currently under construction, will work in tandem with the third intake to provide quality water to over 2 million Valley residents.
When the pumping station is completed in 2020, SNWA will have the ability to draw water from the lake, even if lake levels drop too low. Provides an effective disinfectant that destroys bacteria and waterborne pathogens. The next step in treatment is multi-stage filtration, which includes a step known as flocculation. Particles in the water form clumps called floc. The floc is so small it can't be seen by the naked eye. Flocculated water passes through multiple filters that trap and remove these particles. Chlorine is then added to the water as it leaves the treatment facilities. Both chlorine and corrosion control efforts further protect the water as it journeys through the pipeline distribution system, sometimes 30 miles or more uphill on its way to you.
Well, most of our water is delivered by gravity to our customers. This means that we use the natural principle of allowing the water to simply flow downhill. We locate our reservoirs farther uphill from the customers they serve, and thus when that water just simply flows naturally out of the pipes, we get water to the tap. Also providing the water uphill gives our customers the adequate tap pressure that they need.
Highly skilled operators guide water through a series of pumping facilities to move water to reservoirs and water tanks throughout the community. Reservoirs provide sufficient storage to meet our home and business water needs, as well as fire protection to support our community's first responders. The Las Vegas Valley Water District, the cities of North Las Vegas and Henderson, maintain more than 100 reservoir basins and tanks that collectively hold more than 1 billion gallons of water. The Las Vegas Valley Water District is building its first reservoir in 10 years.
Well, this reservoir is designed to meet the growing needs of Summerlin. We're about 33 miles as the crow flies from Lake Mead, where we get most of our water, and this will hold about 10 million gallons of water. It takes a lot of energy to pump that water up the hill from 33 miles away. We do that primarily in the evening hours. We don't have the constant droning of pumps, and it helps to reduce costs by using the energy during the evening when those costs are reduced.
To maintain water quality in the distribution system, operators and distribution personnel keep a watchful eye on flows, water levels, system pressures, and pumping activities. They work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to monitor your water quality. Considering the important role that water plays in our daily lives, local water providers in Southern Nevada are committed to maintaining reliable water infrastructure that safely meets our community's water needs. By the time water reaches your tap, it's been treated and tested to the highest state and federal standards.
There are more ways to save, so join us next time here on Waterways. If you'd like to share your conservation efforts at home, contact us at Waterways, 1001 South Valley View Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89153. Or send us an email through our website at snwa.com. We may feature your story. For more how-to videos and tips to conserve and care for our water, connect with us on social media. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time, right here on Waterways.
Have you noticed the new streets? You know the ones I'm talking about. The ones with new bike lanes that benefit pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. In an effort to promote the use of our valley's great transportation options and make our community a great place to live, all of the jurisdictions, in partnership with the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, are enhancing our roadways with complete streets as part of the Southern Nevada Strong Initiative. Complete streets are roadways designed to include room for drivers, transit riders, pedestrians, and cyclists.
Like this area at First and Clark.
Or right here at Highview and Valley Verde.
Or this rapid flashing beacon right here on Alexander Road and Arcata Way.
Or right here at Georgia Avenue and Adams Boulevard.
Or right here at Pioneer Boulevard and Grapevine Road.
Or here at Fort Apache and Elkhorn.
Complete streets are designed to be safe for all users, regardless of how you choose to travel. Do you want to see more complete streets in your neighborhood? If so, you can contribute $2 to the Complete Streets program when you renew your vehicle registration online at dmvnv.com or at any of the convenient DMV kiosks located around town. Just in the past year, the DMV collected $130,000 that will be used to install new bike lanes, school zone flashers, and pedestrian signals. This means a better roadway for cyclists and for children walking to school. This means a better road.
For you.
For you.
For you.
For you.
For you. For you.
For more information on complete streets, visit RTC.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to City Council. We will start with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight for our invocation, we have Pastor Tim Journey from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thank you. Yeah, right there would be great.
Father God, I come to you in the name of Jesus, and I ask that you be with this great city. Continue to bless it. Be with the mayor. Be with the rest of the city council, Father. Be with the city employees that are represented here tonight. I pray for the first responders, the police, the fire department, and the medical assistants as they keep this city safe. Tonight, as the council meets, as they hear what's on the agenda and as they go over it, Father, that you'll give them mercy and grace and wisdom and understanding in everyone's needs. And I want to thank you again for your son, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. All right. We do have one public announcement. We have our communications manager, Lisa LaPlante.
Good evening, Council. The good news is I'll only do this once every 10 years. I'd like to introduce you all to Arlene Alvarez. She is a partnership specialist with the Census Bureau. Come on over here. So as you know, census is done every 10 years. And Mayor, you signed a proclamation to recognize the U.S. Census. Census starts next month.
Well, we've already started hiring, and the census itself will be next spring. So we're about 1 year out. So this is the symbolic gesture.
And she left with us some information in case anyone is interested in applying to be a census taker. So if anyone out there is interested in a position doing that. But the proclamation is right here, and it discusses all of the things that are involved in the U.S. Census, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And will you leave information with the city clerk for people that want to sign up to do that? That would be great.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have our approval of the regular agenda. Madam City Clerk. Oh, yeah. I neglected public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item? All right, then we'll move to approval of the regular agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is requesting that we remove item number 8E and F and move item number 6 to precede item number 4, please.
Okay. Mr. City Manager?
No further changes.
Mr. City Attorney?
No further changes.
And come to Council for approval.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. I'd like to recognize Mr. Harhay. Councilmember Harhay is on the telephone there. I apologize for not to enter. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, good evening from Washington, D.C.
All right, we can hear you too. I hope you're doing well there. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Okay, next is our approval of the consent agenda. Madam City Clerk.
No changes.
Mr. City Manager.
No changes.
Mr. City Attorney.
No changes.
And Council.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries unanimously. I know we have one fourth grader out there. And can we get you to stand up so we can recognize you? Yeah. Thank you. You can say a few words if you want to. Your smile says it all. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming. Pretty smile. All right. So we are on then to item number 6 we're taking first, which is matters pertaining to the Community Development Block Grant. We have our Community Development Director, Mr. Michael Mays, to introduce that.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Each year, 15% of what the city receives from Clark County for Community Development Block Grant funds can be utilized for public service fund requests. And for several years now, those funds have been going to emergency aid and lend a hand. And before you tonight is a public hearing for the consideration of their 2 applications and the dollar amount request. Emergency aid is asking for $25,521. Lend a hand is asking for $8,967. Claudia Bridges is here from Emergency Aid to answer any questions you may have, and Letty Zimmerman is here from Lend a Hand.
All right, thank you. Claudia, would you like to say a few words?
Sure.
I'm Claudia Bridges. I'm the treasurer and grant coordinator for Emergency Aid of Boulder City. We've been receiving this grant for 32 years, and we really appreciate the relationship we have with the city through the county, through all the way up to HUD for this money. It helps us deliver on our mission about helping people avoid homelessness. That's pretty much who are facing an emergency situation. This grant is wonderful. It helps us pay rent and utilities for those people. And we find that most of those people, well, they have to be able to go forward. That's part of the agreement. And so, do you have any questions?
Council, do you have questions or comments? We don't. Well,
actually, I do have. I would just like to say, the work that Emergency Aid does is vital to our community. And I know that the staff over there, I believe you have one paid staff member.
Half time. Mm-hmm.
And everyone else is a volunteer.
Yes.
This organization grew out of Boulder City Welfare Services that I believe started back during the construction of the dam. So.
Yeah, it was started in 1932 and incorporated in 1966.
Again, thank you for the services you provide.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
I just want to echo what Councilman McManus said. Boulder City Emergency Aid is an integral part of our community and has provided these exemplary services for years, as you mentioned, and the fact that you have so many dedicated volunteers is remarkable. And the other thing is that the community is really engaged in keeping the pantry stocked. So
absolutely.
It's just a great community organization. So congratulations and thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, one other thing.
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention one thing. I believe the clients that you provide services for, the last figure I heard was that over 90% of them have been Boulder City residents, and there are residency requirements for some of the services you provide.
The pantry requirements are residency for 30 days. And for help with rent, utilities, it's 6 months. And they have to have proof. There has to be a signed lease. There has to be a driver's license, something to prove that they've lived in Boulder City for 6 months.
So again, these services are directed primarily to Boulder City residents.
Absolutely. Specifically, and I would say more than 90% in terms of rent and utilities assistance, and that's what the grant goes for. I would say, well, it has to be almost 100% are residents of Boulder City.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Letty, would you like to come up for Linda Hand?
Letty Zimmerman, I'm on the board of Lend a Hand, and I want to first of all thank you for the past support you've given us. I guess we're the newcomers, only 28 years of being involved with this program. The grant that we get from the CBDG is applied to our transportation coordinator position. Now, our main services, for some of you who don't know, transportation is the major thing we do to medical appointments both in Las Vegas and the whole Las Vegas Valley and in Boulder City. We also do home services for people who are homebound and need assistance. We will go into the home and do respite for a caregiver who just has to get out and have some time to do their own thing. We will do that as well. But the majority of our work is transportation. On an annual basis, we have about 300 clients. Not all of them require a lot or maybe even any service in a given time period. But when you have dialysis patients or other patients that have to go into the VA hospital, it's quite a commitment for our volunteers. We have about 80 volunteers who work throughout the year. Right now we're short, where demand for services is peaking, and so I want to put a plug in for anyone who wants to really a rewarding thing to do to volunteer for driving or in-home services. I talked with the volunteer coordinator just yesterday, and she had 18 requests for service from clients that she was still trying to match for next week's service with volunteers. And on a personal note with that, I was able, last week I was privileged to do a drive a person into an appointment, and it's a person who had been very independent, short period, but she's recovering, but still a lot of medical appointments. And she told me that Lend a Hand had saved her life. And when you're driving somebody and it's taken you, a couple of hours, it makes you feel like, is there anything else I could have done that would have better use of my time? And so we appreciate the support, the financial support, and I'm always wanting to encourage people to come forward and volunteer because the rewards are great for the clients, but also very great for the volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions or comments? Mr. McManus.
Again, I would just like to thank all the volunteers that do work with Lend a Hand. And as I recall, I believe last year it was mentioned that many of the drivers donate their mileage back to the organization to use for other purposes. So, again, provides a great service here in town. Thank you.
Councilwoman Levitt.
Mr. Mayor, Lend a Hand is another stellar organization in Boulder City. I was privileged to be on the board for a while, so I really got kind of a closer look at what was going on, and they do have amazing volunteers, and Letty answered my question with respect to caseload, so it seems like that's going up, the number of people that you serve. But one of the things that I was struck with when I was on the board is how effectively and efficiently it is run. It's just another great organization, and I remember when it was formed. I was trying to think of the founder, Pat Duncan, was it? So that won't tell you how old I am, but I've been around for a while.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just want to mention that Lend a Hand has touched our family's life. And in full disclosure, our handicapped son, Matthew, is a client of Lend a Hand. And they've been immense help in a number of different ways in our family. And a salute to them from the Harhay family.
Thank you. Any others? So this is a public hearing item. Anybody in the public wishing to speak on this? All right, we'll see, and then we'll close the public hearing. I just also want to add that both wonderful organizations, as I've talked to the volunteers as well as those that kind of spearhead these efforts over the years, including recently at the Rock Roll and Stroll, it's always apparent that you can never get enough volunteers. All the volunteers seem to be doing double duty all the time, and so make a plea to the public out there that even though these organizations are well run by those that are running them, they can use your help, and as well as financial assistance. But in particular, that volunteerism really touches lives. And as was said by Letty, I mean these people that receive these services view it as saving their lives. It really does, whether it's pantry, whether it's transportation, whether it's the home visits or otherwise. And both stellar organizations that are great ambassador organizations for Boulder City, and we really appreciate it. So with that, I'll go ahead and move for approval of this item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you for coming tonight for that. And next, I believe, is item number 4. We have a presentation regarding our utilities from our utilities director, Mr. Dennis Porter.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I promised the city clerk that I would keep this to less than 90 minutes, so I'll try to do that. It's day 70 since I started shortly after Thanksgiving, and what I've prepared for you is just kind of a briefing, high-level briefing on what I've observed and some of the things I've seen, and some of the issues I think we're going to need to challenges or even opportunities, if you want to look at it that way, that are something we're going to have to deal with in the future. So with that, I'll start with a quick overview. Went too far. Essentially, the utilities themselves are all created by charter. As Councilman McManus said yesterday, they're not really defined by each function right now in the charter, but they are defined and they're treated as separate enterprise fund with regards to the water, the wastewater, the electric, and the landfill. They are not for profit, which is really how we distinguish ourselves from the likes of independently owned utilities like Nevada Energy. We'll start with the water. On the water side, we're regulated by EPA. The Safe Drinking Water Act was completed in 1974. Nevada Department of Environmental Protection has primacy. They're basically our regulation, our body that regulates us and makes sure we're doing what we have to do to meet the criteria within the Safe Drinking Water Act. The utility itself has about 5,400 residential accounts and about 580 commercial accounts. I think everybody knows, but just in case folks don't, we're a purveyor member of the Southern Nevada Water Authority. The Southern Nevada Water Authority is relatively new, speaking, if you will. They were created in 1991. You can see the list of members there, which includes, of course, Boulder City. The Water Authority provides Boulder City with both wholesale raw water, which we use mostly for irrigation, and then our potable water that we use for domestic purposes. Tonight, John Ensminger was actually originally supposed to be here, but he's up testifying on the drought contingency plan in Washington, D.C., so he'll be out next month to give everyone updates with regards to that. So I'll try not to steal his thunder. They also provide us with water quality testing. I think everybody knows they manage Southern Nevada's water resources as a whole. They also kind of oversee the conservation planning as well as the drought contingency plan. And then they manage and operate the big backbone regional system to deliver water to the purveyor members. This is a picture of Lake Mead. You can see there, it's about 149 feet down from full pool, if that's what they call it. So we're still in a drought, even though it's been a better year than normal. John will talk a lot about that next month, but the good news is it looks like with the snowpack this year, we'll be able to at least push shortage off one more year. Shortage starts to happen where Southern Nevada has to give up some resources to leave water in the lake at 1075 elevation, then at 1050 elevation, then 1025 elevation. This slide itself just kind of shows you that, over the past few years, our demands have stayed pretty stable. So it tells me that conservation is working. We have added population, we've added accounts, but we haven't used more water. So I think you'll also see in the very near future that conservation is going to be something the Southern Nevada Water Authority focuses on more stringently than they even have in the past, and so we'll be coming forth with more drought measures in the future. This slide gives you an idea of the assets within the system. We have over 780,000 feet of potable water mains, from 2 inches, pretty small, to 24 inches diameter. A lot of pressure reducing valves. We have a lot of terrain in Boulder City. A lot of fire hydrants to keep the dogs happy. 2,942 valves and 6,000 water meters, plus or minus. And of course, Councilman Levitt likes pictures, so there's some pictures. Some more of the assets on the reservoir side, we do have right now about 12 million gallons actually in service. We have a 2.5 million gallon tank that's out of service. That's something we have to take a look at. There's been some water quality issues associated with that tank itself. And the reason I kind of want to show this next slide is that This slide here shows our max day demand during the summer. We pump around 16 million gallons a day. The Southern Nevada Water Authority system itself can pump around 20 million gallons a day. So we do have capacity to add customers. But the concern I have is tied back to storage and the fact that if we lose the Southern Nevada water system, which is a single pipeline coming up from Alfred Merritt Smith treatment plant, we're down for a number of days. Do we have enough storage to be able to deal with that? So that's something we'll be looking at pretty quickly. On the raw water side, we have 6 raw water accounts, quite a bit of more water main than I thought. We have about 82,000 feet of 2-inch to 24-inch raw water pipeline, some pressure reducing valves, and of course 1 reservoir for raw water storage. This slide here shows you that we do have available capacity to move more raw water, which kind of leads back to looking into whether we would have the ability to convert the Boulder municipal course into a raw water course and not continue to use potable water for that course. And in fact, we're starting those meetings tomorrow morning. So. Went too far. As it relates to water system planning and asset management planning, we do have a hydraulic model that was completed in 2017, which means we have employed or deployed some of that technology to be able to deal with operational issues. If there's new customers, large or small, we can input that into the model and see how it affects the operation of the system, as well as the capacity of the system. A water system master plan is needed to assess future needs. We talked about that in the budget discussions. And then from a maintenance management perspective, they have, at least the folks I'm working with, have started a preventative maintenance plan. It does need to be formalized and kind of built into the operations in a more formal way. When I say that, we have input most of the assets into the GIS system, so we know the pipe material, age of the pipe, diameter of the pipe, and we can start really building that information and using it to do the condition assessments. The system, like me, is aging, and so obviously that this kind of all comports back to the strategic plan and the fact that we do need to manage our assets. Improving that planning and maintenance and asset management will improve our ability to actually have a very accurate capital improvement plan, and that's important as we do get into the rate study that we've talked about. Now for the fun stuff, the wastewater. Everybody likes wastewater. The 1972, the Clean Water Act was enacted, which basically created a permitting system to basically give us direction on how we have to what levels we have to treat wastewater. In Boulder City, we treat to a secondary level, and then we discharge the majority of that effluent into the desert south of I-11. A number of counts is similar to water. Just here's a kind of a summary of the assets. Again, quite a bit of sewer lines, 4-inch to 18-inch, over 436,000 feet, 3 sewer lift stations, 14,752 feet of sewer force mains that go with those lift stations, and 1,800 manholes. Had to have some more pictures for Councilman Levin. These pictures really are a good example of what happens when you have corrosion in your manholes. The picture on the right, it shows a pretty severely corroded manhole. Picture on the left shows some issues with one of our pipelines. On the treatment side, whoops, went too far. On the treatment side, we have the 2 MGD secondary wastewater treatment facility. Right now, we treat about 1.2 million gallons a day at that facility. We have one customer who uses some of the effluent, but the majority of it is discharged into the desert. And of course, the good news is we have not had any permit violations. More pictures for Councilman Levin. Headworks on the left, there's a capital improvement project to manage some issues with the headworks. It's where the flow goes into the facility and we have to screen stuff out. And then the aerated lagoons on the right. On the wastewater side, unlike the water side, we don't have a hydraulic model. It's not an incredibly complicated wastewater system, but in this day and age, the models are pretty simple to put together and something we should have so that we can assess where we may have hot spots. Or if a large customer comes into town, we can put that demand on the sewer model and determine what the impacts are. We do need a wastewater system master plan. I think I found one from 1969. If there's one that's more recent than that, I couldn't find it. So, maintenance management plan, similar to water. They have started that maintenance management planning, but it does need to be formalized and put into the operating portion of the utility. Again, on the asset management side, it's aging like I am. The majority of the assets are in GIS as well, so that's a good thing. We do need to do comprehensive condition assessments, looking at through television inspection, manhole inspection, to get an idea of what the condition of the sewer is in. We do have some of that information, but the entire system has not been done. And of course, we need to start capturing data. Right now, most of that data is in our operators' heads with regards to sanitary sewer overflows and where we have issues in the sewer system. Fortunately, it looks like most of that's limited. Probably one of the bigger items that we need to address is what to do with the effluent reuse. We do need to study to figure out what to do that. We did start meeting with Southern Nevada Water Authority just recently. Right now, that's a valuable resource. I think we all would agree with that. We discharge it and dispose of it into the desert, and that doesn't get used, doesn't count to a return flow credit, so it has really no value right now. So the options we're intending on looking at are treating it, returning it to Lake Mead or the river, either one, and then possibly either indirect potable reuse or direct potable reuse. So with that, we do need to improve the planning, the maintenance, and asset management. And again, we really would need to get that solidified so that we have a good handle on our capital projects and the priorities for those capital projects. On the electrical side, the electric utility, we purchase most of our power through Silver State Electric Association. That includes the Hoover Power, the Hoover Schedule A and B, the Salt Lake portion, and then where we don't have enough power to meet those demands through Hoover, they go out on the market and purchase power for us. The good news is those market purchases and the combination of those with the Hoover Power, at least for the next 5 years, look really good. So typically, we're fairly accurate from 0 to 5 years with what our power purchases are going to be. After that, it gets a little more sketchy, so we're a little bit more conservative with those projections. And you can see here on this, was already there. On this slide, it just gives you an idea in megawatt hours. We average, this year about $35 per megawatt hour. It's going to stay around that for the next 4 to 5 years. So that's a positive thing. Assets, we have a lot of electrical assets. Over 100,000 linear feet of overhead transmission cable, almost 157,000 linear feet of overhead distribution cable, and almost 600,000 linear feet of underground distribution cable. We also have the substations that you've heard plenty about, a lot of distribution transformers. We have about 8,000 electrical connections, plenty of 243 steel power poles, and 1,210 wooden power poles. More pictures. You like pictures? On the electrical side, again, unlike water on the wastewater side, the electrical side, we don't have a model as far as a technical ability to put a new demand on a model and see the impacts on the electrical distribution system immediately. We do those by calculation now. I don't, but somebody does. And again, we're far along with technology that we should be able to implement a distribution system model. We do need a master plan, more so now for the distribution system. I think we have a pretty good handle on the improvements that need to be done with the transmission side. They've been ongoing. They'll continue to be going on into the near future. And so now we need to dive down into the distribution side of the utility and get a good handle on that. Yeah, and on the maintenance management side, we're mostly reactive. We do run some things to failure. There's little or no predictive maintenance management, so that's something we definitely need to get in place once we complete a condition assessment. Again, this is kind of over and over, but the system is aging. I think everybody here knows that. It was constructed quite a long time ago. In this case, we do not have all the assets in GIS. We are backlogged with regards to that, and there's a lot of work to go to get the mapping done to get that into the system. So, same story here. We definitely need to improve planning, maintenance, and asset management. And that will definitely help with us, for us to be able to have confidence in those CIP projects that need to be built in for the next 5 to 10 years into our budget process. A landfill. We're a Class 1 municipal landfill, regulated by the Southern Nevada Health District. Obviously, we cover a large amount of square miles in Boulder City. Operations are contracted to BC Waste Free. Obviously, the city owns the landfill, and it does have a projected life of 100 years. So the good news is we're in pretty good shape with the landfill itself. There might be some small capital projects that need to be done with regards to some drainage improvements and some fencing and stuff like that, but there's nothing really alarming with regards to the landfill or the operations of the landfill, at least that I can see yet. So in conclusion, that's kind of a summary of where I think we are with the utilities and the utility funds themselves. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
I think that was less than 90 minutes.
It's close. Did a great job. All right, council questions or comments? Mr. McManus.
I know we talked about some of these things yesterday in my briefing, so I appreciate you mentioning a few of those. One thing that I hear from a lot of folks in town is we've seen substantial rate increases over the past few years. Prior to your arrival, I'll point that out to the public. You're not responsible for that. But again, these have been substantial. One of the things that has been factored into that are the service fees. So we've gone from, I believe it was $5 for a service fee on electric meters to almost $40 on the meter. The problem with that for a lot of folks is you can't conserve your way out of fees like that. One thing you didn't mention was there is a rate study being contemplated. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an opportunity to mention that.
You are correct. That's near and dear to my heart for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I think we need to obviously take a look at the capital plan, the O&M budgets, look at how we're currently managing the rates and the rate structure, and we will do that through a rate study. July 1st, hopefully get started on that.
Okay. But again, as I mentioned with these service fees, if a person's on a fixed income, when those fees go up by 600%, they can't turn the thermostat up a few degrees and try and mitigate that. So that's a significant burden. And I do understand that those service fees are what pay for a lot of the maintenance and replacements that are needed. But I would really like to see us look at something where those folks that want to conserve, that are able to conserve, can do that and make a difference on their bill. so that no matter what they do, they still get the service fees that, as I say, we've seen substantial increases in those amounts. So that's one item with regard to the rate structure, and it doesn't promote conservation. And again, I get that it's our municipal utility, and if people conserve too much, then that puts us in a bind on some other things. But if people want to conserve and need to conserve, I would like to see us have an ability to be able to give them a way to do that. You also mentioned the approaching SNWA about further treating the wastewater that's currently going out into the desert. I think that's an excellent idea. 1 million gallons a day is the figure that flows out there. We look over the hill the other direction and we see Lake Mead dropping. That may not be much of a drop in Lake Mead, but it's substantial if we look at 356,000 gallons or million gallons a year. With regard to these projects and the state of our utilities, I know there are some restrictions on we don't want to put every piece of information out there to protect the system. But I think it would be good when you do get these things worked out and get these management plans in place that you've mentioned, we inform the public about that, what the state of these things are. I know some of this has been done through the capital improvement plan, but we need to do a better job, I believe, of explaining to the public what exactly it is that we're working on. An example of that came up with the BC tap transformer. Apparently it was purchased last year. It's yet to be energized. There were issues found with it. That was a major project. Matter of fact, it was number one, I believe, on the capital improvement project. And then it comes to light that it still hasn't even been energized. It's just sitting out there on the pad waiting for something to happen. We need to advise the public as these things go through. So I would like to see something get posted on our city website that shows the progress of these different projects. With regard to the landfill, I've heard some complaints. I'm sure it was a safety move, but they put a railing around all the dumpsters out there. I granted it's a way to get people in shape, but there needs to be some way of making it somewhat possible for people to get their stuff into the dumpsters and not have it spill out on the ground and that sort of thing. Again, I understand that was a safety concern, that we don't want people falling in the dumpster as they're throwing things away, but something maybe could be engineered out there to make that a little easier on folks instead of having to lift things up over the railing. With regard to our water system, that was an issue that we spoke about yesterday. Knowing what these reservoirs are for, we are paying off a substantial debt out of our water fund. $2.3 million a year is going for that raw water project. A lot of statements made that project was in anticipation of adding to the number of golf courses we already have here in Boulder City. So we're paying for development that never occurred and has no benefit to the city. If that is to be converted or needs to be converted for storage of potable water in the event that something happens, again, I would like to see some very firm information get presented to the public about that. And again, I do appreciate the plans that you're putting in place. I know you've been here less than 3 months now, so this system was built, some 90 years ago, or at least started being built 90 years ago. But we have a long ways to go. There have been a lot of mistakes made in our utility fund that we continue to pay for. So I appreciate the work you're doing on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Councilwoman Levin.
Well, besides pictures, I really like planning as well. So you did a good job of both. And I do think pictures tell what did they say? I can't remember the saying, but anyway, it tells people or shows people what's going on. So I appreciate that. But I think it's also important when we're talking about transparency that we do have these plans that people can see exactly what we're planning for the future and that they're measurable and we're accountable. And so I think that adds to what Councilman McManus was saying with respect to keeping the public informed, because they can see what is planned and what we accomplish. And I also appreciate you bringing up the affluent water that's going into the desert. That was, I think you and I talked about it, that it was mentioned to